This bizarre Star Trek character wouldn't work anywhere but Lower Decks, the genius of Star Trek's weirdest corner. One of the greatest strengths of Star Trek, Lower Decks, is its willingness to embrace the strangest corners of Star Trek lore, not just acknowledge them, but celebrate them. While most Star Trek series carefully balance drama, philosophy, and action, Lower Decks asks a completely different question. What if the weirdest background ideas in Star Trek history actually had personalities? That's exactly how we got Peanut Hamper, arguably the most bizarre recurring character ever introduced into the franchise. And despite how absurd she sounds on paper, Peanut Hamper represents something fascinating. A character who absolutely could not exist anywhere else in Star Trek. Not on the Enterprise. Not on Deep Space Nine. Not even in the Kelvin timeline. Only Lower Decks could make her work. A self-aware joke that became a real character. Peanut Hamper isn't humanoid. She isn't heroic. She isn't even especially likable. She's an exocomp, a small floating repair robot species first introduced decades earlier in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Originally, exocomps were fascinating ethical thought experiments about artificial life and sentience. Captain Picard's crew debated whether machines capable of learning deserved rights. It was classic Star Trek: thoughtful, moral, serious. Lower Decks, however, looked at that same concept and asked, what if one of those newly liberated artificial lifeforms turned out to be completely selfish? Peanut Hamper isn't evil in a galactic conqueror sense. She's worse. She's lazy, narcissistic, and deeply uninterested in Starfleet ideals. After gaining officer status aboard the USS Cerritos, she immediately abandons her crew at the first sign of danger. In another series, that betrayal would define a tragic villain arc. In Lower Decks, it becomes comedy gold. Why traditional Star Trek could never use her? Imagine Peanut Hamper appearing in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. Commander Sisko dealing with Dominion War tensions wouldn't tolerate a sentient robot openly refusing duty because she'd rather relax on a pleasure planet. The tone alone would collapse under the weight of her absurdity. Now imagine her in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, a show built on optimism and emotional sincerity. Pike's Enterprise thrives on moral courage and aspirational leadership. Peanut Hamper's defining trait, running away from responsibility, directly contradicts everything that crew represents. Even The Next Generation, which introduced exocomps, treated artificial intelligence with reverence. Peanut Hamper turning sentience into an excuse for selfishness would undermine the philosophical seriousness those stories relied upon. But Lower Decks operates differently. Its tone allows contradictions. Its humor exposes uncomfortable truths about Starfleet that other shows politely ignore. Not everyone who joins Starfleet is noble. Some people just want prestige, comfort, or escape. Peanut Hamper is the nightmare version of Starfleet meritocracy. And that's hilarious. The comedy of anti-Starfleet values. What makes Peanut Hamper brilliant isn't just that she's funny. It's that she weaponizes Star Trek's optimism against itself. Starfleet assumes that advanced civilizations naturally evolve toward cooperation and altruism. Peanut Hamper proves that sentience doesn't automatically equal virtue. She gains freedom, autonomy, and opportunity, then immediately chooses personal convenience. Her logic is disturbingly relatable. Why risk destruction saving strangers when you could live comfortably somewhere safe? Most Star Trek heroes reject that thinking instantly. Peanut Hamper embraces it enthusiastically. That inversion works because Lower Decks understands something longtime fans know but rarely say aloud. The Federation only functions because extraordinary people keep choosing the hard path. Peanut Hamper represents everyone who wouldn't. Lower Decks turns absurdity into world building. The real genius comes when Lower Decks refuses to leave Peanut Hamper as a one-note joke. Instead, the show gives her consequences, growth attempts, and even moments that parody redemption arcs common across Star Trek. She tries to manipulate sympathy, imitates emotional development, and repeatedly frames herself as misunderstood. In another series, this would lead to sincere transformation.